And we're back here at the GSL. Curious, surprisingly enough, is the first to move on out of this group.
Yeah, and one of these two players will unfortunately be going back down to Code A. Find out who it's going to be, Paralyze or Roro on Polar Knight.
I still think Robo moves on from here. I think we do have a PvP final. Or, sorry, a PvZ final.
PvZ final match, yeah.
But I don't know, man. I mean, Paralyze looked good, but he was totally outclassed.
Yeah.
Same time, Roro looked very good today. Him and Stats actually had a great series.
Roro played very aggressively in that previous PvZ. I wonder if he's just going to take a step back and go back into his more normal late game oriented style here. That's what I'd like to see from him. Because a Pross that he played against before, Stats just defended so well.
Yeah. All right. One of these two players will be knocked out of the GSL Code S this season. Paralyze, the rookie, against Roro, a champion. This is GOM EXP.
Roro versus Paralyze.
We've had a lot of PvZs today.
Yeah. It's, well, we've had a lot of Protosses and then not a lot of Terrans, so
yeah,
at least some Zergs to that spot.
Yeah, this is
4 PvZs.
Could be 5, depending on how this goes.
Could be.
Or a PvP. Those are the 2 options.
I'm under the impression it's going to be a 5th PvZ here.
I think so too. Just looking at the way both of these two players played today.
Paralyze did seem to be the weakest link here.
Yeah,
wasn't bad per se, but just everybody else is looking on another level. You know.
Yeah. I mean, Curious just destroyed him, and that's like mostly because of how well Curious played, not because of Paralyze. I mean, that Paralyze played really poorly. But even Stats look better against Curious. Let's see what happens here. Hatch first. Slow gateway expand. Looks like we're gonna have some downtime here. Only 1 gas. Not doing the double.
So, this map, it's got a lot of possible harasses early on. You're not as incredibly far away from your opponent as you are on some other maps.
Yeah.
So there are some timing builds Protoss can do here. We have a pylon making back here, which is just going to cancel. This is probably a thing in the meta that's just going to get phased out eventually.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he didn't even see it. He didn't care.
No, I know. But I think it's got made popular by the most recent BlizzCon finals.
Yeah.
Where Jaedong was duped so effectively. With some fake pylons here and there.
Well, he's had a lot of history of failing to defend cannon rushes, so I guess he's got to make sure he can. I guess he takes them very seriously, and he does get faked out.
I wonder if we're gonna have more cannon rushes come into play now, though, since Zergs are just ignoring that pylon.
Yeah, well,
it would seem like it would just work, right?
Yeah, well, there was a game between Haz and Jaedong recently in WCS America where he made 6 pylons outside the base and just made cannons, and it was really confusing. Jaedong didn't really know how to respond. That type of play is something that I think we might come back a little bit more because their players are playing really greedy, and they're not responding, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely ignoring the pylon here. So what we really were seeing as an attempt to Paralyze there was to bait Roro out into defending with drones from an attack that wasn't actually going to occur.
Yeah. So I wonder what sort of PvZ we're going to see here from Paralyze from the start. He has, he played in the previous series a pretty standard style. It's just that Curious kind of crushed him. It didn't look like he has the same kind of planning that Stats had, where Stats had a very rigid build order that he split into different parts on Alterzim.
Yeah.
It looked like Paralyze played a little more reactionary. Didn't work out for him, though, in the end.
Here comes the pressure opening here from Paralyze. An attempt to try to force out as many lings as possible before he eventually recalls back home.
Yeah, he might be able to kill his queen when it pops out. The funny thing is, if the queen were built a little bit faster, he'd be more vulnerable.
And that ling not going to be effective at all.
Nope.
unless those probes keep chasing him.
Queen's about to pop out here. And, or no, that's the queen actually at the natural. You didn't build one here. I don't think.
We don't have a
We don't have
PC
another
here,
monitor,
so we don't actually know
But
for sure.
I mean, he's not going to get anything done here. Is the bottom line because there's too many Zerglings now. Additional gases have been taken. It's actually gone up to 3 now. And very good scouting here by Rower, trying to see if there's a forward pylon. Doesn't want to get hit by any zealot pressure early on.
And this is one of these games here. Unlike from stats, you know, what's funny about stats in the PvZ we saw with Roro is that Robo really got in there and did a lot of damage, really harassed him, really caught him off guard.
Yeah.
In this case, Paralyzed even have a little bit more stable defense, even though stats did play incredibly.
Yeah.
There did seem to be some holes in his early game. I almost question if the Zergs he was practicing against just did not do any Ling harasses early on.
Yeah.
So that he could figure out how to get the tightest possible builds.
Yeah, KT actually doesn't have a lot of good Zergs right now, to be honest. You know, they're pretty Zerg light. We've seen a lot more
Diet Zerg.
Yeah.
They're Diet Zerg right now.
Zerg 0.
Zerg 0 here. Oh, now the Lings are going to come over here.
Yeah.
And this is going to interfere with the pylon wall, or what he wants with the cannon there, tucked in between those two pylons, and then make a gateway there.
That was a nice save on the probe at least, though, so you can keep making those structures. Twilight Council being added now. We could see +2 Blink Stalkers off of 3 bases, like the 3rd base with very few probes, like we've seen before.
Totally possible.
It's a pretty solid build for the map. It's hard for the Zerg to take a 4th on this map because the 4th base is either, you know, pretty close to the Process 3rd, or you have to kill those rocks that are at the back.
Looks like we're actually going to see 2 more gates put down there. 3 more gates, excuse me.
Yeah,
Possibility, because
there's
there's a hole there. Okay, so he puts it down. This actually looks a lot like what Stats did.
Yeah. Seems to be a popular build floating around right now amongst Protosses. It's a little bit different, but just similar to the way he's executing it. And he's sending probes over there. He's just poking with this army. He wants to force more units, more roaches, more Zerglings, so he's going to fall back. And then the economy that's disrupted by the Zerg is... Whoa! Those are good force fields, but it's a lot of his energy.
That one sentry getting pushed out now.
If he can disrupt the Zerg's economy this way, when his attack hits later, while the Zerg is trying to re-drone, can really throw him off.
So he does get back home. I believe he warped back to the 3rd there. +1 attack just now going to finish. Blink halfway done. And he's going to try to put some pressure on his own here. Roro is. Now, if he does break through and do a lot of damage here, you got to keep in mind there's 4 gates.
Yeah.
So that means he would not only shut down an expansion, but shut down production, basically half production.
This is a lot of units on the map right now. I mean, he's tripling the army supply of his opponent. Look at that, like 90 to 30. It goes up to 34 at this warp end. Forces the overcharge at the natural, and he's just going to try to break through here, but I don't think he's getting in.
No, I think he's actually more confident about hitting over here with these roaches.
Yeah, and he's actually starting to trade okay here because there's no immortals in this army, and he's running out of force fields.
He wants to move those up a little bit more. Oh, nice, roaches. They came from behind. And that was for you, Wolf. That was a Star Wars joke.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Sorry, Porkins. All right, well, this is like, I mean, just too much.
Yeah.
He's losing way too much here.
I'm trying to wonder if you can actually do strats like this. Because we've seen this shut down again and again here. So Roro really getting those roaches in there, getting a lot more roaches out quicker than kind of like Curious did. And this, again, it cuts off any utility here from the 3rd base. And the 3rd base is where 4 of the gateways are. So if he gets rid of these gates, I mean, I don't really know what Paralyzed can do to bounce back from that. Zerg's now taking his 4th just now.
If he kills the pylons even, you know, that empowers them. And all that's left is the Immortals, one of which is about to die. Looks like he will save it. That was... Wow, that turns the tide a little bit in this battle.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well,
there's a lot of roaches. Yeah, just slightly. Oh, nice.
Burrow movement now. No observer on the map. And that's it for that Immortal. Sorry, buddy. I'm not actually sorry.
He's not sorry. Wolf is disingenuous. More Lings and Roaches just continuing to proceed down here. And this is nice because you can get right up under these stalkers, and that is the face of a kind of in-shock Protoss.
He's like bewildered by this almost.
Well, you know, it's funny because we saw Curious completely shut this down. Roro had a bit of a hard time with it. Roro's completely adapted. Maybe taking a page from Curious's book. And I got to wonder, can Protosses open like this? It seems like if they just get enough roaches and they have a good angle aim, there's not much you can do. It's almost taking advantage of the fact that the Protosses like to push out with the mothership core and the sentries, try to do damage. As then when they recalled back, the Zerg have enough Lings and Roaches, they just run over everything.
Yeah, it's a really cool encounter because if Paralyze in this case decides to commit to the attack, then he has plenty of units to defend and also to continue to pressure the third base because there's no cans at the back. He also abuses the fact that the third base defense is oriented around those gateways and that one cannon, so he just goes behind the mineral line